Hi guys, well welcome back to the channel. So I recently did a video in the shed whereby I spoke about the annual running costs and whatnot, and it's winter now, so there's no riding despite going out on that again after that ride, and it got completely filthy, so that needs one more ride, one more wash out. But I thought I'd just do a bit of a roundup really, tell you what's happened and maybe try and put some B-reel in there so you can see the sort of things that have happened over 2024. It's been a great year, and I've thoroughly enjoyed owning these bikes, and I'm also going to tell you about a little bit about next year as well. So again, we're going to start with the Fireblade on this video, and I think I mentioned in the last one, I do feel a bit sorry for this bike because it's such a wonderful bike, but none of you are that bothered about watching it. Or maybe I'm just not very charismatic when I make those videos. But always enjoy riding this bike, and every year I'm going to take each of these bikes to the Isle of Man. So they've all served a purpose, and I do bits of riding in and out. But I went to the Isle of Man on this bike, and as always it didn't fail to disappoint. I didn't make a video though because I'm conscious I've kind of made a few videos now of the Isle of Man on this one, and they get a bit samey. It's a very small island, the roads are the same, so not sure whether that's entertaining. Again, I'm open to feedback on the channel, so please let me know. We did the annual service and MOT, so no issues, and again I spoke about the service cost, oil and filter change, something or nothing. And that's about it, other than some in and out rides of the local area. So what am I going to do for next year? So I'm going to go to the Isle of Man again, as I've said. Maybe if I can get one of my friends with me and just vary that content a little bit. I only have a handful of friends, so that becomes difficult. But yeah, maybe get a friend on the channel, and it's such a good bike for the Isle of Man. Honestly, if anyone's in a predicament where you want a fast bike that's not very expensive, this is it. It does everything. It's comfortable. I've taken it to Europe twice. It's fast as anything. It's 170 brake horsepower, and it just goes. It's incredible. Clearly lacking a bit in modern standards with 220 horsepower bikes and whatnot. So anyway, Isle of Man next year, and you may now have seen I've done 2 videos of moto camping. I've been on the Tuono and I've been on the BSA, and it's just such a great experience. If you've never been camping, I thoroughly recommend it, and I'm going to take this needs to go as well, so I've kind of completed the full circle on that. Highly recommend it. I can't fit the Krager tail pack or very easily to this bike because you need attachment points under the seat or a special fitting kit, which maybe I could look into, to be fair. But I do have Oxford panniers, luggage, that I can use with this. So we'll see how we get on, but an incredible bike. And yeah, annual roundup. I did have a setback. Let's talk about setbacks as well. So I have a quick release fuel cap, which I've never been a fan of. I didn't fit this, it was when I bought it. And the one and only time it's ever happened, I take the cap off when I refuel, when I put it on there. I was at a Morrison's pay before you fill and whatever, and I rode off without putting the cap back on because I'm an idiot. And this bounced down the road somewhere, couldn't find it, went looking for it afterwards, and I didn't realise until about 15 miles later. I thought I could smell some fuel. But anyway, I opened the gas, and I just got wet through. I got completely covered in fuel, and I could have set myself on fire, to be fair. So yeah, point of note. That's a bit of a roundup of this bike. Not much happened this year, but we'll move on to the others. So moving on to the Aprilia Mille, what have we done this year? So major things, we did the winter upgrades that you probably saw on the channel. So we've done many different things now. We've got the collector mod has been sorted. We've got uprated stator. We've got uprated battery cable lines. We've got new sprockets and chain. I've spent quite a bit of money on this bike actually, and for me, when I bought it, it was more of a looker than a rider. You know, I've always found it to be such an iconic looking bike, and riding it was a bit of a bittersweet almost. Like, I enjoyed it, but it didn't touch the others. But it served a purpose. I then took it to the Isle of Man at the start of this year, 2024, and I really fell in love with it. It's very spacious, it's got plenty of torque, you know, enough to have a lot of fun, but it's not going to, you know, it's not going to sell you, it's not going to occasional racer, an S1000R or something, but it's plenty for the modern day roads and whatnot. And yeah, even on the Isle of Man, you could really stretch its legs. So again, I'm going to take this out annually and really enjoy that. And even if I don't ride it so much, and I'll come on to that shortly, it's just a good bike to look at. And I overpaid for the bike, and I've spent some money on it. We'll see. If prices appreciate in the next 10 years or so, maybe I'll break even. If I don't, you know, I don't have kids and a wife, so I've got to spend money on something. In terms of next year and what's coming up on the channel, so I'm going to do my very first service on this bike. It's a dry sump setup, as you possibly know already, which is a bit different, but nothing insurmountable there. And I'm also going to do a service on the dog bone. So you'll see it's on the ABBA stand now, great bit of kit, and that's what's required to lift the chassis up so the suspension hangs freely and you can start servicing the bearings on the dog bone. Something I'm probably going to have to do on the Tuono quite shortly as well. So we'll do that. And the last thing I've invested in for this bike is an Oberon clutch cylinder. So I do appreciate all the comments on the channel, and one of them against this bike was that, you know, your slave cylinder is possibly going to go at some point without warning. So I, you know, deliberated on that fact, and I then bought the Oberon. I've gone for a black one, I think. It's been in the attic for 6 months. To keep in fitting with the bike, will fit that, and I think that is the last thing I'm going to spend money on this bike. Partly because I've done everything I need to do. There's nothing I can think of that needs changing on it now. So we'll do that, so I can fumble my way through as usual, my first service. We'll do the clutch cylinder, I'll go to the Isle of Man, and I think I'm also going to take this one camping as well, because it's such a fantastic experience. You sat there alone with your own thoughts, you can just reflect and plan and whatever, and it's great fun, weather permitting. So there's some of the things that are going to come up on this bike on the channel. Okay, so in terms of the Tuono, now I look at this right now and I'm looking at it as my favourite bike of the small collection, modest collection that I've got. To be fair though, they've all become my favourite. Every year they're all my favourite at one point, because I ride them and I realise how capable and amazing they all are in their own way. But this one is quite special to me. So I bought this when it was 6 months old. I only had 300 miles on the clock, 330 I think. And yeah, it's the most I've ever spent on the bike, and I've spent a lot of money on the bike as well. But it is just absolutely incredible. You know, it's a modern day super bike with straight bars. It's so good. And in terms of making it the bike it should always have been, the best thing I've done this year is this exhaust. I do apologise, it's still dirty. I've washed it before. I went for a very brief ride and I got caught out in the rain. So that's, and I don't mind washing the bikes. So that's part of the fun. But yeah, it's filthy again. And you know, another thing, I've never had any unreliability issues with either of the Aprilias. They're not left out overnight in the rain necessarily, but you know, they always get a bit of a slating for being unreliable. I've never had any issues. Touch wood for superstition. So the exhaust sounds absolutely incredible, and yeah, I've gone for the MIV. It's I've never seen one of these before. I've never seen anybody else buy this. They buy the Acura, but it's road legal and I'm a little bit pedantic, so I've gone with that. We've done the Gabbro map, which is amazing and has helped it. I've noticed since the Gabbro map I put on, you can buy another one which removes any limitation in first and second gear. I didn't even know there was a limitation because it's so rampant, but apparently there is, and yeah, I'm fine with this. It's well beyond my capabilities anyway. You may have seen I went camping on it in the Yorkshire Dales. A fantastic ride out. I'm getting away with the passenger seat. It's just wide enough to put a 30-litre tailpack on and a sleeping bag, and you know, it wiggles about a bit, but that's fine. I was going to invest in the Hepco and Becker sort of luggage rack, but it's just £200 not well spent in my opinion. It works fine as it is, and very happy with it. So I'm going to do more touring on this, and that will be a very exciting video series for next year, 2025. So me and my best friend Grant, we're going to take this to I don't know whether I'll tell you where. Europe. We're going to go to Europe on a bit of a tour together. And yeah, the perfect bike for it, I think, in terms of a medium distance tour. So, you know, 5, 6, 7 nights sort of thing. All Airbnbs actually, not camping. This is perfect. You know, comfort on the way there. When you get there, you've got a super bike, super naked, but not breaking into that long distance touring picture. So yeah, that's probably the highlight for me for this year, the exhaust and some camping on it. Shame I didn't get time to do more. I am quite limited on my time, but I'm also trying to make these videos for you and for the channel. So yeah, and one last thing, you may have noticed I've invested finally in a Rode Wireless Me microphone setup rather than this bloody wire that I have. I've also bought another cable setup so I can wire up an intercom in my Scorpion. I think it's the ADX2. I've got it's a bit of an adventure type helmet, and hopefully we can now get the comms between me and Grant and add to the the video experience. So yeah, highlight of this year and a bit of a teaser for next year. I can't wait for that trip. It's all going to be amazing. Okay, so moving on to the BSA, the Birmingham Small Arms. Actually was watching some Peaky Blinders the other night, and again, forgot that they are a rifle manufacturing company and whatnot. Just lost touch with it for a second. But yeah, the biggest highlight of this year for me, firstly and foremost, will be diagnosing and fixing the electrical issue, which was something or nothing. So when I bought this bike, I had so much fun on it. You know, it's a completely different riding style to the others, naturally, and there's nothing that makes me want to go fast on this bike, purely because I can't stop the damn thing. But just chugging around at 45, 50 is so rewarding. It's just a wonderful experience, and it brings me back to when I've seen films like Benjamin Button with Brad Pitt, and he's just chugging around and just stuff like that. Always looks cool when they paint those pictures. So I was really pleased when I got mine, and had this ongoing electrical problem. Finally sorted it now, which everything that pointed to other things was wrong. It was actually the commutator was oxidizing, and I wasn't cleaning it regularly enough. So the ammeter was not going up and down when I blipped the throttle, and most of my rides are 15-20 minutes, so I'm fine. But when I went for a longer one, it broke down on me and I had to push it back. Anyway, sorted that. On the back of that newfound confidence in this bike, I then took it camping, which you may have seen the video. Check the link in the description. And yeah, great. You've got such a wide area to put your stuff on. I've got these extra ties for the Krager R30 tail pack, which is fantastic. And yeah, I had a great time on it. So questions being, what am I going to do next? So other than my regular rides on it and just chilling out, I'm going to try and get more classic rides with my neighbour. So I have a good friend called Mark, and he's got a couple of bikes. He's got a Triton, which has not made an appearance on the channel. He's got a Triumph Bonneville, which you've seen, and he's got a Bobber as well, which is, you've already seen that, and it's a little plug to the next thing I'm going to talk about shortly. So yeah, I think some classic rides, maybe a classic bike meet if I can, and a classic bike show, maybe even enter it, see how I get on. I'm conscious that it's not exactly showroom spec, it's well modified internally, but and it's very reliable now, and it's well maintained, but it just looks a bit old. And I think it depends what's the word I'm looking for. Depends what your drivers are. I like things that look sparkly and nice. My granddad, as I maybe said before, has constantly told me not to get this resprayed because it's got the historic element there from 1961. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, maybe it'll win something, or even taking parts for. So that's a bit on the BSA, and I look forward to seeing the videos on that next year. Okay, so I don't have the bike here to talk about, but another highlight of mine this year has been the Triumph Tiger 1200 GT Pro. So I was fortunate enough to go on a test ride from Ewell's in Blackburn, great team out there, and what a bike. I mean, I've always had a little soft spot for one. I had an old friend when I lived in university down the road, and he bought one back in the day, and it always kind of like, okay, you could do a lot on that bike. Kind of bought the Aprilia thinking it was a good blend between the two. It's not. It's a great bike in its own right, but you can't go long distance touring on it. You don't have the luggage capacity. I've looked at the Hepcon Becker, all the different sort of luggage options which don't work with a tail tidy. So I just thought, you know what, we'll just get a new bike at some point, and it will be a Triumph Tiger. Part of the test ride was me trying to bring it down the side of my house so I can put it in this overcrowded facility, but wasn't working. So I then started thinking, how can I have the bike? So one easy option is to put it into storage, but it is a bit of a ball ache because you've got to ride to the place, you've got to pay annual subscriptions and whatnot. And I thought, is there a way that these wide bars that I can't get down the side through the gate posts, even if you sidestep it, it was nowhere near happening. Maybe on full lock and pushing the bike straight would work. So I thought, you know what, I'll just take the handlebars off. I'll ride it twice a year. I'll go and do an MOT on it, and then I'll go on a 2-week tour, something like that. And it'll be fine. Park it in here, no problem. And then I discovered these bad boys. So these are the Dynamoto stands. Put the teeth back in. And you'll see, it's a really innovative design. So you've got your spinny wheels, and you've also got, they're on coasters almost, so they spin that way. So with these, and there's the rear obviously, and there's probably another video out already, or if not, will be shortly, on me trialing it with the Aprilia. So you can basically put the bike on full lock and just push everything forward. It's got an integrated bump stop to stop it falling off its stand while you're pushing it, and it's also got some eyelets as well that came with it. So that enables me now to get the Triumph. And honestly, riding that bike, I was always a bit off put by them because they're very big and heavy, and I thought, you know, I'm a small sort of frame, small guy, you know, I'm not like 15 stone to be able to wield this thing around. It was absolutely fine. I think a bit of height helps, but there's 2 adjustable positions to the seat, and you know, between 10 and 11 stone I was easily able to do whatever I needed to do with it. So that's on the list. So next year I'm going to ride the arse off the Mille as much as I can, get some mileage on it, and then this is going into storage, possibly in the dining room, don't tell me mum, and then a Triumph Tiger's coming in here, and we're going to do some proper touring on that, so that will be a future highlight. And yeah, what a bike though, honestly. If anyone has ever thought about these adventure bikes as a bit boring and a bit old man, no offence to old men intended, it's fantastic. You know, 150 brake horsepower, it's as fast as you like, Brembo's up front and rear I think, and you know, Ducati Multistrada is always the flagship I think for these sort of things. 160 brake horsepower, this is knocking on the door of that, and they're all getting more and more advanced anyway, so really, really capable bikes. So that's a highlight on the Triumph Tiger. And sticking on the Triumph theme, which I've never owned before, I rode my neighbour's Bobber very briefly, and I've always liked the Triumph Bobber Gold line. You know, it looks fantastic. It's the cherry sort of red colour, it's got the hand painted gold stripes. That is on the list. I don't know how I'm going to get it just yet, because I'm kind of running out of space, but I have more storage options about 7 or 8 feet that way, and I'm possibly looking at one in the next few years. So yeah, certainly not for next year, but looks amazing. You know, I follow the Thornton 100 crew, and those bikes, very expensive mind, they look incredible. So that would be something special if I can achieve one of those as well. And yeah, maybe I'll do a test ride next year. Maybe that would be a good candidate to go back to Ewell's and do a test ride and just actually really sort of spend a few hours on it and see what the potential is on that. Okay, so MGB, what have been the highlights? That's still warm actually, went out on that earlier. What have been the highlights of this year? So haven't done anything spectacular really in this car this year. which is forcing me to want to do more next year. I want to do more classic car shows. I have a great time with my granddad when we did those. We've done the Jorvik run, we've done the Morecambe to Whitby coast to coast, and there's many others, even some classic car shows as well. That's not a run, but you just go and appreciate what everyone else has. Done the annual servicing and things, but yeah, we're kind of in like sustained position with this now. We're not building it to be anything else. It's not. It's just a case of running it and enjoying it. So that's interesting. I've also come into contact about 2 years ago with my 2-year-old nephew. So my brother's had a beautiful baby boy, and I remember the pictures and the memories of me when I was a kid, working with my granddad, learning how to work the car, how to service things, not particularly knowing what I was doing at the time. But I'm now, baby James, I'm now going to start trying to get him involved. I want to take him on little runs for it, if it's safe. Not parental at all, so I don't know what you need, but maybe a booster seat or something. Maybe take him out for his first ride in it, and you know, maybe in a year or two when he's getting a bit older, to start showing him how to service it, because ultimately this will be his car in the future. I won't be having children, thank God. And the other toys, if he's interested, you know, the BSA I've kind of earmarked for him. That'll be with me till I depart. And this of course will be. So I want to get him. I want him to be like a mini me really, and learning how to take care of these things and enjoy them, and preserve that heritage. So maybe not one for next year, but that's a bit of a longer term horizon for the channel. And yeah, he's quite cute, so I'm sure he'll get many likes and whatnot. So yeah, other than a bit of annual servicing and the odd ride out, not much has happened with the MG, but let's see what next year brings. So yeah, that completes the roundup really for 2024 for me. I would just like to thank you all for your likes and your subscriptions. I mean, that does help a lot. And you know, the comments that I get on the channel as well. Some of you guys, I won't put names in, I don't know whether that's the right thing to do, but you know, you really go to town on your comments, and it's very informative and educational for me, so I do appreciate that. And I try and respond to everyone's comments and give the same back. And yeah, you know, I've learnt a lot, different things on different bikes, so much appreciated. And one final thing that I was going to say as well, I'm conscious that I started this channel as a bit of a hobby. You know, it was basically a case of sharing large file videos with my granddad and whatever on YouTube. And if the general public are interested as well, then that's good. But I spend a lot of time watching YouTube and seeing people enjoy their hobbies. And there's some very talented people out there. They make fantastic videos. They've got great B-roll, great editing, which is a skill on its own. And I'm not a techie. But I'm going to try harder, because I want to make better videos, and I want to serve the channel better, and you know, give a better viewing experience for you guys. You may already notice I've invested finally in a microphone that's not on a wire to the GoPro. So yeah, that's a little New Year's resolution for me, and yeah, hope you look forward to seeing the videos, and hope when they come out that they're enjoyable for you. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in 2025.